If you open up your binder, and you guys will have, in the back pocket, you should have this 4-point Children's Ministries evaluation form. So this is simply our, you can go to the next slide so we can give it a test. This is our Children's Ministries 4-point evaluation. And I created this particular thing because we had we were going to go bless a church to help them develop their children's ministries. And so we worked with a couple of different people on our team. They submitted some answers, some things that they're looking for. So we created this evaluation form for people to be able to look at their children's ministries to see if they measure up. So somebody who saw the form, they go, but what if I get 0 on everything? Well, you might not even realize that that's a part of your children's ministry's responsibility. So we broke this up into 4 parts, okay? And we're going to go over each section, but just to do it real quick, we have these 4 categories of evaluation, which is the blue is administration, the brownish color there is facility, red is safety, and the green is volunteers, okay? This is simply an overview. Nothing is created to do a measuring criteria. You know how you take a personality test and at the end it tells you where I didn't create anything like that because I figure the numbers, you will evaluate it yourself to see where your weakness is and where you're going to improve. So I did put a place where you can put a total down here at the bottom, where you're able then just to see how you land in that whole section, okay? You write a total. I put the totals across this way so you could see your totals right when you're looking at that section. Okay, let's go to let's go back to the blue one. And we're going to talk about administration now. A large part of what Children's Ministries does is administration. And sometimes we can forget that. I do know that there's one young person who was doing children's ministries, was invited to go into a more administrative position. Actually, you guys know Joyce Bergen, right? She was invited, she's a missionary now, invited to go to the national office and be the children's ministries person for the national. And she's like, I want to be with the children. I don't want to be just with the administration because it's the whole thing. Children's ministries involves all aspects, and you may have an area that you're strong in. So she actually, even though she's super strong at administration, she turned down the larger administration job because then that would mean she couldn't be with the children. But you do have to realize, just like one of the points in Sean, can you send us that list of 10 so we can put that in the Dropbox too? Because that was awesome. Is one of the things is, I lost my train of thought. I was starting to think about his handout thing. Is that administration is such a large part, and if you're disorganized, it frustrates everybody around you. It really does frustrate. If you're too organized, you want to control everything, then that's a drag. But if you're under-organized, then you're not respecting people's time. And so that's why administration is so important. Okay, so let's look at each one of these. You break down your program. And when you guys use this, I'm hoping that you will even take a quick look at your page right now and know where your children's ministries lands. And those of you who are not over a full children's ministries, maybe you could try it out just for your class that you're doing, if these are some things that would apply, okay? And if there are things that will work, that don't work, maybe you could send me a note if you're doing just your class or in a different setting. How to improve this. This is new. This is just a year old, so we want to improve it for all our churches. So we have our vision. What are you doing? When you are in children's ministry, you are not a standalone ministry. And we can forget that sometimes as the children's ministry starts to grow. And you're in there, you're in the service. I know, like Jessica, you're in children's ministry. They have I'm going to share your situation there in South San Francisco. They do an English service at 9. They do a Portuguese service at 11:30. And they do a Spanish service at 3 in the afternoon. Not different churches coming in. Their church She is responsible for children's ministries in each one of those categories. So she's in there all the time. She could, you got to be careful that you don't come with your own vision then starts to separate from where the pastor's vision is. You as a staff, whether you become a full-time children's pastor, or you're leading a department, or you're a volunteer, God has placed your senior pastor as the senior pastor. And if at some point that vision becomes blurred, just go back to him and say, okay, let's reevaluate. I want to make sure I'm in line with what God is doing with this body of believers. Because what will happen is you'll go over here and then you won't have his spiritual protection that the senior pastor has. So you want to make sure that you're always functioning underneath his vision. Now, you may have a more specific vision for children's ministries underneath that and that he has approved. But know what your vision is, okay? That's very important because you can start, when people see that you're creative, you have energy, you have a lot of fun, you'll get ideas coming from all over the place. And I have a short attention span. So I'm here at the district office and people or missionaries will come in and they'll tell me about their idea and I'm like, that's such a good idea. And I'll go over there and I just like that idea so much. And then I went, oh, that's a good idea. And I'll go over here. And I got to come back to what is the purpose? What are we doing here at the district office? The purpose and the vision of our children's department is to train you, inspire you, encourage you. We don't build big children's ministries here. We encourage you in your places where you're at. That's what we are doing. So that's our vision, our mission statement. How are we going to follow that out? How are we going to complete that vision? Are you just going to just say, okay, this is my vision. We're going to see 10,000 kids saved this year. How are you going to do that? Your volunteers were like, they'll be all like, all right, let's see it happen. So your mission statement gives you the steps to get through with it. The next is your curriculum. Are you using curriculum? Why are you choosing the curriculum you're choosing? Where would you land that? That is the administrative role, is to decide where the curriculum is. What happened about 25 years ago is they started coming, maybe it's not more now, it's more like 30 years ago, they started coming out where smaller companies could create their own curriculum. And it was media driven, so we had a lot of companies creating curriculum. It was really exciting to be in children's ministries then too, because all of these new tools were coming on. But there was no doctrine accountability. So then what would happen is they'd go, we'd teach about, let's teach about being kind, or let's teach about the books of the Bible, or let's talk about what it is to be at school. We dealt with character and we missed out on teaching about the Holy Spirit, tithing, communion, water baptism, faithfulness at church, serving. We missed out on all that stuff. So we had a generation that even the national office saw this trend that they came out with the faith case that's teaching doctrine, that's trying to help and put tools in your hand to get back to the basics with the children so that they know what we believe as Pentecostals. We have the power of the Holy Ghost. No reason for them not to walk in that, right? But if you're choosing the curriculum, you as the leader, you have the vision, the mission statement. The curriculum is right equal there. That's why it's the first three things that we put on the list. Then, where are you as a ministry? Are you consistent? Do you get real excited around January after your training meeting? And when it comes around to June, you're so tired. You've worked everybody so hard that now you're just exhausted that you can't keep up. And then you start telling the kids to watch movies during children's church. So where are you at with consistency? And then it goes on. And inside there is our special events, outreach, and family support. Now there is a philosophy of leading a church now. I believe it's called Simple Church Ministry. And they focus on having a strong Sunday service. So they don't have a lot of extra things on the weekends. They don't overburden their volunteers with a whole bunch of activities. And it's really hard, as a matter of fact, to get on the church calendar for an extra activity because their whole mission statement is we're going to make a really strong Sunday service that's going to incorporate evangelism and outreach in their church. So the people who did this, they said their church grew, busted open 2,000 after, because now they have 3 campuses. after they did this, because they had where they live, there's just so much competition, which is in the Bay Area, so much competition, their teams were all getting wore out. They did this, and they really focused on the strong Sunday service, and then they moved on to a cell group. That's pretty much what their church does. It's a huge church, but they're able then to focus on discipleship. That's their church vision. That's their statement. Some of you are going, wow, I never even thought of having a vision statement at our church, because we're kind of surviving from one week to the next. So how can you, if you don't have a vision statement, how can you have an outreach? How can you have a family event? How can you even invite volunteers to work with you when you don't even know, when you're looking to maybe a volunteer to give you a vision? Because you've been doing it for 20 years and you're tired, right? I'm there. I know what you're doing on that one. You have to maintain good records. That's why we spent this morning talking about clearing your volunteers, knowing how to recruit, because you want to maintain your records. If somebody comes in, steps in place behind you, are you going to make them just start right from scratch, everything from the families to the volunteers to your special events, or are you maintaining strong records? Then giving, and I can just, I'll go quickly on that one. This is developing in the administration. How many of you guys, this is the first time you realize that children's ministry is involved this much at administration? Or you guys all knew it already, right? Some of you are like, okay, I didn't know that. I was just teaching Sunday, okay? So these are things, your staff relationship. And then you look at how you scored. The next, let's go to the facility. So we have our facility. Look at the flow of traffic. Our church in San Francisco, the sanctuary is on the second floor. And so it's really unique how we have to handle the children and checking them in, and people can just come off the street, like what Michelle was saying. Their predators can come in there. What is the flow of traffic? When somebody who has never been to your church, what are they going to see and what are they going to do? And you need to rate yourself on that. Then classrooms, bathrooms, media equipment, and storage. If you notice here, we have this screen, but there's a big screen back there with an awesome projector. But because when we had the set, we had to readjust that. So what's interesting is that even in children's ministries, you're going to have media difficulties. And so you need to prepare and plan for that. Some of you guys are like really nodding. Some people feel there are demons in media equipment. So to realize at the point when it comes close to the kids coming here, just say, hey, well, let's just go for it. But if you're evaluating it and thinking of it ahead of time before you show up on Sunday, then you're good. And then I think with bathrooms, also you want to look around and just see how somebody is going to go in there. How will they observe? Will adults that don't know a child's in there be walking into that bathroom? You need to be evaluating all those different aspects, okay? And we'll go to the next one. I know, thank you. And so we have the for safety. We want to keep everybody safe. I was noticing at Best Buy that they sell cameras and monitoring system under $100. So if someplace if you just evaluate that, I don't know exactly how we're going to implement that in our children's ministries, but when I saw how inexpensive it was to do that, I thought I'm going to be putting some camera and monitoring systems in. I'm not just considering what's safe for the child, I'm thinking about what's safe for my volunteer and for the church. Okay, children, volunteer, and the church, right? Because the volunteers need to know that you have their back, right? Or because it's a risk to get in there. Okay, and the next one, an emergency plan. Okay, so now we're on this one. Let's stay there. That's good. So now this is our volunteers, and we've talked a lot about this. Make sure your volunteers are treated well. Let them know that because you cannot do children's ministries without volunteers. The bulk of all volunteers in churches come through children's ministries. So we are the people who are recruiting, pulling them into the church, training them, and helping them to become part of the family. So it's important for you to look at your volunteers as a complete section. So I have it in 4 here, and this is one complete section. It's just handling volunteers. Okay, because if you have these 4 things, some of you would say, how about where's the children at on this, right? If you have these things in order, ministry can happen. But when you don't have these things in order, it's very difficult to have a wonderful place where the children can come and learn and feel safe and receive from the Lord. right? It's just like, have you ever been in a restaurant where it wasn't clean? Okay, we live in the city. We've spent a lot of time in restaurants in San Francisco, and my number one rule is I will not eat at a restaurant where my arms stick to the table. And so most people there, houses aren't big enough that you go to a restaurant when so if somebody invited you to go to that restaurant, it's rude then to say, no, I'm not going to eat at this restaurant you chose. But sometimes Kenny has actually come out and said, don't go to the bathroom. Because it's like, we think that way about a restaurant. Are we thinking that about our children's ministries? Is it safe? Is it clean? Because once you know it's safe and clean and all these things in order, you're not so nervous about eating from the kitchen that you don't see, right? You guys know what I'm talking about, okay? You guys totally know what I'm talking about. Are there any questions on this form? That it totally explains. So right now we're going to take a quick break, and I call it a connection break because you could use the restroom and get a drink, but I really would like for you to go across the aisle and go meet somebody that's here that you've never met before, okay? So we'll meet you back here in about 12 minutes.